Let's talk about the Crusades. Most schools teach that the Crusades were evil, but they were actually a response to a greater evil. Death is never good, and there were certainly bad crusaders and some crusades less justified. But if Muslims took over countries the way that they did when the Crusades were needed, then everyone would support the resistance. Furthermore, forcing Islam onto people so violently was indefensible. They took over countries all the way through North Africa and made it all the way to Barcelona. If it weren't for the Crusades, we might all be under Sharia law, or we'd have our hands and feet cut off and nails put through our eyes, as Muhammad did to those he declared enemies of Allah. From Pope Urban II's speech for the First Crusade. For your brethren who live in the East are in urgent need of your help, and you must hasten to give them aid which has often been promised them. For as the most of you have heard, the Turks and the Arabs have attacked them, and have conquered the territory of Romania, the Greek Empire, as far west as the shore of the Mediterranean and the Hellespont, which is called the Arm of St. George. They have occupied more and more of the land of those Christians, and have overcome them in 7 battles. They have killed and captured many, and have destroyed the churches and devastated the empire. If you permit them to continue thus for a while, with impurity, the faithful of God will be more and more widely attacked by them. King Conrad III writes to Abat Wabald of Corvey, describing his journey to the east and his future plans regarding the Second Crusade. While the Turks unceasingly harried and inflicted death upon the crowd of people on foot who were unable to keep up, pitying the fate of the suffering people who were dying both from famine and from arrows fired by the enemy, and on the request of all princes and barons, we led the army away from the wasteland toward the sea so as to regroup. Pope Gregory VIII, the Audita Tremendi, and the Third Crusade. Indeed, whoever does not at least mourn in his heart, in so great a cause for sorrow, not only is ignorant of the Christian faith, which teaches us to join in all suffering, but of our very humanity, for the magnitude of dangers and the barbarous ferocity thirsting for the blood of Christians, and adding all their power in this cause to profane the holy and erase the name of God from that land. Whoever thinks we should be silent should decide. A short quote from the General Summons of Innocent III for the Third Crusade, aspiring with ardent desire to liberate the Holy Land from the hands of the ungodly. Pope Honorius II writes to Conrad Scholasticus of Mainz concerning the urgent need to provide reinforcements for the Fourth Crusade. The entire army of Christians remaining in Damietta in the service of Jesus Christ have informed us by envoys and letters that the Holy Land now stands in need of greater and prompter assistance than has ever been needed since. With many from those parts having returned home, the Christian army is much weakened, so that, unless it is speedily reinforced with new warriors, not only will they not dare to attack the land of Saracens, but they will indeed barely be able to defend themselves. Hence they will also fear that they will be left in the hands of the enemy, which will be a long-lasting reproach to all the faithful of Christ, and will lead to the permanent loss of the small portion of land overseas which is still held by the faithful of Christ. Pope Gregory IX instructs the Master of the Temple on the Fifth Crusade. Our dearest son, Christ Frederick, illustrious Emperor of the Romans, always Augustus, and King of Sicily, has sent a complaint to us that, ignoring the various dangers that inevitably threaten the Holy Land from warfare, you strive against the peace agreement to violate the truce, and against the prohibition of his bailey to stir up conflict in the kingdom of Jerusalem by taking away many knights. Some of the pilgrim knights whom he had brought there were inevitably wretchedly made captive by the enemies. Hence it seems that the way is opened and made wider for the king of the Persians, 68, for the destruction of these regions. The Sixth Crusade is less bloody and more goofy. Frederick II successfully took Jerusalem with minimal fighting, then he crowned himself at the altar of the Holy Sepulchre and got excommunicated. Pope Innocent IV called for the Seventh Crusade, 1 year after Muslim forces took Jerusalem in 1244, but it was unsuccessful. The Eighth Crusade was an even bigger failure, as it ended before it even really started. I looked for the best quotes from the major crusades. Feel free to comment any I missed, and may God bring you closer to good with his awesome power.